We have some news coming in now of reports of explosions over Tel Aviv. The Israeli military saying missiles have been launched from Iran towards Israel. Let's bring in Noor O'Day in Amman, Jordan, for us, keeping an eye on the situation in Israel. What more are you hearing about this, Noor?
Folly, we are hearing that there are up to 30 Iranian missiles that have been launched at Israel. A few moments ago, we heard the sirens here in Amman. Shortly after that, there were warnings and sirens going off in Israel, and the area that is under warning is quite large, from the upper Galilee all the way to the northern coast and the central areas. So the upper Galilee, Nahariya, Tel Aviv, and so on, all the way to Ashdod, further down in the south. All those areas are under advisement that everybody living there should be in shelters, that there will be incoming. And loud explosions have been heard, especially in the central area, in the larger Tel Aviv area. We're seeing some visuals of the attempts at interception, but we haven't had details yet about where exactly are the targets and what areas are affected. Of course, we have to remind our viewers that the reason why information is so difficult to obtain is because there is a prison sentence that citizens and journalists have been threatened with from the military censor, and so information is a bit difficult to obtain about the targets themselves and what is going on in terms of visual confirmation.
Right. And we can hear explosions now. Let's listen on these live pictures from Tel Aviv. Several loud explosions heard over Tel Aviv, Israel, following the U.S. Strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities a few hours ago. The Israeli military says several missiles have been launched towards Israel from Iran. This is the first sign of them from these live pictures and sound we're getting from Tel Aviv right now. Noor O'Day is with us. Noor, of course, there have been in the last week several missiles launched from Iran towards Israel, which have led to significant damage within Israel and even deaths, of course. Remind us of what's happened over the last week.
Over the last week, Foley, we've seen hundreds of Iranian missiles launched at Israel. In the beginning, there were large volleys, and most of them were intercepted. But over the past few days, we've seen fewer Iranian missiles, but a lot more damage, especially in the areas where people were able to, publish videos and photos, because again, we don't know all the places where those missiles have landed, but where we do know they have, we've seen buildings collapse, we've seen Israelis killed and get trapped under the rubble. We've seen extensive damage to infrastructure. We've seen also buildings and facilities like the Soroka Hospital also suffering extensive damage from the heat of the blast of missiles targeting areas nearby that are described in Israel as sensitive locations. So this is, Israelis are bracing themselves. And in the morning, we were just talking a few minutes ago, Foley, that it is quite early, but already Israel prepared its citizens that they expect the initial response to be directed at Israel, not at U.S. troops, and that really has played out quite quickly. Yeah. Israel is also talking about the potential of involvement from Hezbollah in the north, and that would further complicate things and really put a lot more Israelis in the crosshairs of fire.
We have seen the initial response already, Noor. With these live pictures we're getting on Al Jazeera from Tel Aviv, several explosions heard over Tel Aviv in the last few minutes. Interceptions also seen in the sky over Jerusalem as the Israeli military says missiles have been launched from Iran towards Israel. This coming a few hours after the U.S. attacked 3 Iranian nuclear sites in Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordo. Noor, I want to ask you, you talked about the risk of escalation, of course, in the region. We are also now hearing from Yemen's Houthis who say the ceasefire deal with the U.S. was before the war with Iran, and that there are now options on the table. The Yemen's Houthis saying the response to the U.S. attack on Iran only a matter of time. So Iran's allies in the region likely to respond also, Noor.
Absolutely. And we've heard also from Hamas, from the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. And earlier we had heard from Hezbollah warning against any targeting of the supreme leader of Iran. Let's remember how the peoples of the region view what is happening right now. This is, to their eyes and ears, extremely Orwellian. The U.S. president striking Iran, talking about peace, describing Iran as the bully of the Middle East when they have seen and experienced and lost loved ones for decades because of Israeli occupation in Palestine, in Lebanon, and now also in Syria. They are looking at this and they are trapped in a situation not of their choosing, in a situation where they are completely defenseless. And they, even if they are not involved, even if they are not exactly allied with the government in Iran, people here do feel under attack, and they feel that peace in this context, in this political context of the U.S. administration, means absolute surrender to Israel.
Okay, we have some images now of the latest explosions in Haifa. These would be the interceptions seen in the skies, the interceptions of the Israeli missile defense systems after several missiles were launched from Iran towards Israel. Noor, let me just ask you about the public mood in Israel. There is, of course, support for attacks on Iran. We've talked about this throughout the week here on Al Jazeera. But curious to know about the Israeli public's sentiment as their country gets involved in yet another conflict. There is Gaza, which is still ongoing, of course. There was the war with Lebanon, Hezbollah in Lebanon last year. Is there not a sense of fatigue among the Israeli public to these never-ending conflicts that their country, their government gets their country involved in?
Well, one would think there is, but really, when it comes to Iran, there is still widespread public support. The Israeli public was fed up with the war on Gaza. They had other priorities. They don't trust Benjamin Netanyahu's motivations for this endless genocidal war. But on Iran, he has still managed to convince the public that this is worth it. We'll have to wait and see in the coming days how that will play out. Let me just tell you that in the past few minutes, I've been receiving, descriptions and messages from my contacts in Palestine, but also in Israel. And they're describing the explosions they hear, that they feel like earthquakes. These are probably large missiles. They are shaking the homes and the windows of all involved, all the way to the occupied West Bank, where people do feel these explosions. They don't know where they're going to fall. But as you said, we've seen explosions over at Tel Aviv, and now we're hearing reports about something possibly in Haifa, but still waiting to hear of confirmation.
Right.
We can see one visual confirmation of an impact, direct impact in Haifa coming in just in the past few minutes.
And we have those visuals on our screen right now, Noor, of that explosion in Haifa, Israel. Also, the explosions heard over Tel Aviv in just a few minutes. Hopefully we can show those visuals again. We'll keep a close eye on the situation in Israel following these missiles that were launched from Iran in just the last few minutes. With you, Noor O'Day. That is Haifa. That's the explosion that Noor was talking about in Haifa just a moment.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get latest news from Al Jazeera.